Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and today I'm going to be doing a video talking about EDH Cards Part 4. I always have to check my numbers because I do a lot of these in the series and I lose track a lot of times of where I am. A lot of times I create these lists prior and prices fluctuate all the time, so you might be watching one of these videos and a couple months later and prices might fluctuate, they might go down. So I don't really know, when I say worth the money, I kind of mean cards that are a little bit more expensive. Some of these might be $5 or $6 cards, some of them might be in the 30s, and I feel like for some people, buying a $6 card, really, they do need that. Is this card actually worth the money? Because I feel like I get a lot of people who are EDH players who might be on a budget, so some of these cards definitely do vary in price, but I guess when I say worth the money, I'm talking about cards that are more than, I would say, $5 is usually what I mean by that. So just to give you guys a little bit a frame of reference from where I'm coming from, just because I remember when I started out playing EDH, an $8 magic card was a lot of money. Now I'm it's an $8 foil, that is so great. I need cards that are $100 in foils, so $8 is a dream. So yeah, let's just hop into the video talking about the first card, which is Prismatic Vista. I really like this card. I actually only own one, and I really truly just need this card in basically just all of my decks. This is a fetch land that gets you any basic land card. What I like is that it doesn't enter the battlefield tap, you only have to pay 1 life. Universally, this is just a really good fetch land, and honestly, I'd recommend this card in every EDH deck. Honestly, I do need quite a lot of copies of this card, and I think the one I want is does this one come in the full art? Yeah, or the extended border. I do need the extended border foil, so there you go, Tracy. That's $100 and I need 10 of them, so here we are. Anyways, yeah, this card is super great. Like I said, I only own one, but I've seen this card being used in other people's decks, and I just think really good. And honestly, I think a lot of people are hesitant on a lot more of these fetch land purchases because fetch lands do tend to be a little bit more expensive. Honestly, I do think that they're worth the hype and they're worth the money because getting the chance to thin your deck is really, really good, and you get a basic of any type, which is good if you're running 2, 3, 4, 5 colors, which is really strong. So I do really like Prismatic Vista. Definitely have a card that I really need more of on my wish list. The next card is Cyclonic Rift. Cyclonic Rift is just point blank, period, a card you just kind of need if you're playing blue. A lot of people do think this card's really oppressive, and that was really aggressive. Do you guys, I don't know if you guys hear that. The motorcyclist just revved their engine. Okay. Anyways, yeah, this is just one of those kind of undisputable, I just think you really do need this card. I've seen Cyclonic Rift traditionally and typically used in the sense of you play Cyclonic Rift, you win the game that turn, but I've also seen this card being used as a safety net to take other people's turns and set them back a couple turns because you're bouncing their permanents, so then they typically would have to discard unless they have a way that says they have no maximum hand size, or they're just spending a lot of their mana just kind of rebuilding their boards. Can really truly just set people back. It's my out in so many instances. It's oh, I just really need a Cyclonic Rift to really help. Also too, I have this card in my Merfolk deck when I'm playing blue, and I am running counter spells and some other bits of removal, but this is just a really good card to help me deal with things that I'm just having a really hard time dealing with. Or again, I've seen this card and I've done it too, where I've just played this card and then just won the game. So it just kind of depends, but I do really like this card, and it's 20 bucks. It's definitely a really good card to have in your collection. And it's also a card, too, that if you get it and then you, I don't know, decide, you're not a blue player or anything like that, and you do decide to, trade this card away, people are going to snatch this up. I don't typically see Cyclonic Rifts floating around people's binders. It's a harder card to trade for, so definitely a card that's definitely worth it. So, the next card is Elesh Norn, and I've been playing with Elesh Norn for a bit. I had it in my... Oh my god, this was the second version of my Ladies deck. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I had Ladies, took it apart, rebuilt it, took it apart, and then I rebuilt it. Now I have it, and I'm gonna have this deck for a while. I really hope I keep this deck together. I have no plans on taking it apart, but anyways, I had that in my second version, and then my third version I don't have it because I put it in a Leela, and I'm considering getting it for Ladies because giving them +2/+2, but honestly, yes, Elesh Norn is so good. Just the Praetors in general are just some of my favorites. Probably one of my favorite cycles of cards, I would say, just wholeheartedly. Paul and I actually were in a conversation the other day just talking about where we think we're ranking all of the Praetors and like how we think they fall. Elshrone is just great. Buffing your team is like incredible, and then honestly just at -2/-2 is so detrimental to so many different things. You're getting the chance to not only potentially kill some things that are 2 power or less, or sorry, 2 toughness or less, but you're also getting the chance to take creatures that might have been a 5/5 to a 3/3. Like, it's so good. I just really like her in a variety of decks, honestly. I particularly like her in more token-based, where you have, or like a lot of creatures. Like, I think if you're running Norn and you have like bigger creatures, like, she's still good, but I think the way that I've seen her really truly shine is like in Ladies again, where I have Silver Queen as my commander, and it's just like my 1/1s now become 3/3s, and I have 7 of them. Like, that's 21 damage. Like, it's just, it does so much work. And then in Alila, it's the same thing, where I have these 1/1s that get so many buffs. Like, such a good card. Like, one of my favorite cards of all time. Okay, the next card. This card has significantly come down in price since I talked about it, since I put it on this list, because this one's a little bit old. That I've made this list, but Birthing Pod, yeah, such a good card in green decks. I don't want to say like this card goes in every green deck, but maybe it does. I don't really know. I feel like there's some people who are like really big Birthing Pod supporters and just are like, I think on their high from the modern days when this card was used in Modern a lot, but getting this card out at 3 mana and then just like getting the chance to 1 and pay 2 life, you don't care about your life total, sack something and get something to the battlefield is just so incredibly good. And I run this in Tasigur and it just works so well in that deck. When I've played my mana dork for, like, one of my favorite things to do is like get rid of my mana dork, because I can always recur it later if I need extra lands, and then get like an Oracle of Mosiah with this. It's just like one of my favorite things to do, and it's so good. Like, it's just, the amount of value you get off this card is so incredibly strong. And honestly, I haven't seen this card a lot at my LGS. Like, I haven't seen a lot of people like playing with this card, but it's really, really good. The next card is Azusa, Lost But Seeking. Now, I would say, I feel like Azusa is one of those cards that I don't think is a necessity in like every green deck or anything, but I do think if you're building Omnath, I think this card is a really good inclusion in there, because getting the chance to play additional lands, like, the thing about Omnath that you have to, like, if you are building it, is you have to realize you need ways to get more lands in your hand, but also ways to play more lands, and Azusa really helps get you there. There definitely are more cards that you can play that give you more things to play lands, and she is a little bit more expensive. I don't think, if you're, like, I feel like you kind of need, if you're going to play with Azusa and you do want to put her, you know, in your deck, I think you need ways of making sure you're getting lands to your hand, because if you're just going to play her and then just like you don't have a way of doing that, it's really not as good, and you might be like, I just spent $30, like, she doesn't really do anything except for on the first turn, which honestly just isn't true. Like, if you're playing her, in my opinion, like the correct way, you are getting a lot of lands to your hand. You are fetching for ways and things like that. So I don't think she's like a green, you need her, but like in an Omnath deck, I do really think she's a really good inclusion. But then also, like, Omnath is one of my commanders that I want to do budget under 100, and I don't think I would put her in my budget under 100 list, because I don't think I would have the room financially, but I might, so I don't really know. But I do think she's really good. The next card is another card that's significantly come down in value, but it is Reanimate. Paul actually got me this for, he got me the extended border one, the box topper one, which is stunning, by the way. Box toppers were one of, like, my favorite things. And every time I just play it, I'm like, this card is just so good. Like, you pay the life and you just don't care. You pay life equal to its power. The amount of times I've just been like, playing Tasker, I'm like, oh, I got my 7, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna discard this Sheldred, and then I'm just like, I'm just gonna reanimate my Sheldred. Like, this card's just really stupid. I think some people might be like, oh, it's a deterrent, you pay life. You don't care. Your life total's like 1,000,000 when you're playing Commander. Like, it doesn't matter. Just for 1 mana, getting something back is so good, and like in early stages of the game, you can just get ahead so much. Love this card in black decks. I think it's incredibly strong. Or decks that splash black as well. The next card is Helm of the Host. This was another card that really just kind of like jumped down in price. I really like Helm of the Host. I do think this card, like, doesn't belong in every deck because it's colorless, but like I think in the right deck this is really good. It is a lot of mana, so it's something to keep in mind, but I think if you really want to take advantage of some ability or some creature, anything like that, like this card is a really good inclusion of it. There's not really a whole lot to say. I just think it's a good card. The next card I want to talk about is Phyrexian Arena. Black is known for their really strong, I would say, card advantage. And what I really love about Phyrexian Arena is that it is on every single upkeep of yours. A lot of times what will happen is I will play this card, and I play a lot of cards like this that are more, I guess kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, like static, like they just stay on the board. And then every turn cycle you draw a card. And a lot of people like don't really notice cards like this or think, oh, you're not gonna get a lot of value out of this. But when you play this at early stages of the game and you've gotten so much value, like 1 card a turn, an extra card is a huge bit of advantage, and I don't think a lot of people recognize that. I love cards that are instant speed draw cards. I run both. That's just kind of the way that I like a balance of cards. I like cards like this just in case they do get destroyed. I have those instant speeds. Like no one's gonna counter my instant speed draw 2 cards. Do you know what I mean? Someone might counter this, or someone might kill this in some sort of board wipe, but I do really enjoy this card. You do pay an extra life, but every turn an extra life for that is just so good. This is a card that I really hope gets a reprint pretty soon. It's staying at a pretty steady $10, $11, $12, which isn't honestly that bad. I just really like it. This is just such a good inclusion in like all of my black decks. I really like it. And the next card is for my tribal people out there, and this is an auto-include in my tribal decks. Pretty much, I would say, unless the tribe is tends to be lower mana cost, and that is Urza's Incubator. I remember when I was first introduced to Urza's Incubator, and I was like, this is an extremely good card. It says that you pay 2 less for your things. I run this in Angels, and every time I just have this out, it just gets out of hand really quickly. Like, your 5 mana Angels become 3 cast Angels, and it just is insane. Like, typically, the way that I typically play Angels is, like, I get 1 Angel at a turn because they are high mana cost, and I might play, like, Mana Accelerator or something like that. This helps me out in early stages of the game so incredibly much, and I would say if you're playing any type of tribe that tends to be like higher CMC, like dragons or something like that, this is just a great inclusion in that deck, and I just really enjoy this card a lot. And the last card, I can't believe we're at like the end of the video, I feel like this went by really fast, is the Medallion Cards. And these cards are sitting at roughly, I've seen them anywhere from like $3 to like $6 or so. So some of them I think are a little bit different depending on the, what's it called? It's the color. I really like the Medallion Cards. I just think they're a really good inclusion. I like these cards a lot in monocolored decks specifically. I'm not a huge fan of these cards in dual colored commanders because, or in like anything above like 2, 3, 4, 5. I feel like there's better cards in those types of color schemes that work a little bit better, but in monocolored decks, I really enjoy these a lot. They say that your cards cost 1 less to cast, and it's a really simple effect. There's honestly not a whole lot to say, but I do think if you're building a monocolored deck, you really want to invest in this. Even if you are playing a lower CMC game, this is only 2 mana to do it. Like, it's just really good at like early stages of the game, and it just helps like set your board and put you in a really good position where you're able to cast more things in a turn that you might not normally have done if you don't have this type of accelerant. Yeah, guys, that is it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video on EDH Cards Worth the Money. I'd really like to know in the comments, like, what you consider an expensive card. Like, what to you are you like, that card's a little bit out of my price range, like, and I'm not talking, like, foil or anything, like, crazy. I'm just talking, like, base price, like baseline, like what would you be like? I'd be really skeptical of purchasing that card for that, because I think we all kind of have a limit, like, ooh, is this card really worth it? And that's kind of why I like to do these videos, to kind of like answer some of your like questions that you may have, like, is this card really worth it? Like, is it not? So yeah, I'd really like to know what you guys think in the comments below. Like my video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, turn on the little bell notification so you're notified whenever I post a video, and I will catch you guys in my next one.